email to what?
The class materials for today, so y'all can follow along. So, but I have the PowerPoint up, so let's go ahead and jump in. Share screen. Yeah, so I'm excited. We got some good stuff. It was always, we always have such doubt, right, when we first start planning these things, and it always ends up coming together beautifully. So we had some donations from people. Like we've got Rose did a package that's a family night out, so it's got movie tickets and $300 at the main event. And of course, then we have the Aloft stay over, which is kind of cool. So and then I think he's doing 2 Suns tickets and Cardinal tickets. So we've got nice variety of things, got a massage basket, so a lot of cool stuff. So, but I love your idea, Danielle, of then regifting it or auctioning it off at your blood drive. Are you going to do raffle tickets or?
No, I'm just going to put everybody's name in a hat that has signed up and shows up, and then I'll just, I'll pull it sometime that day or afterwards, because they're not all going to be there at the same time. It's
sure
over 4 hours. So
yeah,
I'll be there for a drawing. So I'll figure it out.
We're going to do raffle tickets too throughout. So when you guys first get there, Cindy and I kind of like what we do at the office meeting with the 50-50. So we're going to be selling raffle tickets, and then we actually have a bunch. PCH donated a bunch of gift cards, so just random gift cards. So we'll be raffling that stuff off, and I think they're going to do what they call a cash it up. I think that's what it's called. So basically like, hey, who would donate $25? And then everybody's pile goes up, and then you keep going up in increments. The last time I went to a Remax thing, we actually had Christy Kohlberg speak at that, and she told her story. Dude donated $10,000 just from hearing her story. So he was a mortgage guy. So, but yeah, it was crazy because they started out to like $100, and then they worked their way up and they got all the way to 10 grand. And I'm like, no ways is someone going to raise their paddle for 10 grand. And dude did. So we raised, with her story, in that 30-minute window, they raised like 50 grand. So it was crazy.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really successful. Well, with her story, we always talk about all the positives, right? The happy endings, and of course her story is not a happy ending. And so, I think that it's important that we tell those stories too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, anyway, hopefully our ambassador can come. So she's got a really compromised immune system. So, I'm holding my breath if she shows up. So just because of everything going on. So anyway, all right, let's jump in. You guys should have the materials in your inbox. So today we are going to focus on prospecting. And so phone prospecting. So we're going to go through everything about mindset, when to call, what to say, who to call, and really dive into that. And even, setting yourself up for success in your space. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. So our objectives today is we want to leverage your phone prospecting, but also boost your confidence, right? I think a lot of us have, not a lot, I think all of us have that fear of rejection. And it starts back in 5th grade at your first school dance, right? And all the girls are lined up on one side and all the boys are lined up on the other side, and nobody wants to go into the middle and ask each other to dance, right? And so we get into that very fearful place, and it's a fear of rejection. And even if you're calling somebody that is a past client, right, that you have zero reason to think that they're going to reject you, we still have that limited thought that I am going to bother them. I'm trying to sell them something. And because by nature, as human beings, we don't want to be sold. We just don't, right? I mean, I think sometimes there are situations where we don't mind being sold, but on the whole, think about when last time you went to the mall. You're in Dillard's, someone approaches you and they say, can I help you? Or you're finding everything okay? What's our immediate response? I'm okay. Thank you. Just looking, right? But in reality, and I've gotten to the point now where if I'm in there and I need something, yeah, I'm looking for this, and I let them help me because that's what they're doing. They're asking if they can help me, and why not utilize that to save myself time and frustration, right? So the next thing is we want to understand the specific skills that are required to become an effective phone prospector. What does that look like, right? And then knowing who to phone and what's the best practices, and then building your database for ongoing referrals. So Tyrese, when we first met, we talked about you building your top 50. I cannot emphasize that enough for you. And if you don't have 50 people here in Arizona, then we want to get you out, right? Join some clubs, go to meetings, get to know people, join activities. There's a great website called meetup.com. You can join for free. And it's every meeting that's out there under the sun that people are doing. And if you've got an interest in aliens, there's a meetup group for that. If you want to learn how to weave baskets underwater, there's a meetup group for that. And so there's a lot of options for you. And I know you're really dialed into your church, so I would really look at leveraging those relationships as well. So as new agents, we get so focused on, spending money on lead gen, when in reality, if we just cultivated the relationships that we currently have, we'd have more business and we'd know what to do with. Okay. All right, so section 1, where to start in phone prospecting. So understanding our mindset, and we're going to dive into this a little bit more, and that our thoughts matter. So I say this a lot in coaching is, if you think open houses suck and you truly believe that to your core, then guess what? You're never going to have any success at open houses. But if you believe that people that come through open houses, 60% of them buy homes. And so if I can shift my thinking that I just need one person from that open house to consider it a success that's going to buy a house for me or list a house for me. Okay. We want to understand what's the dual purpose of the call, who to call, right? What to say, our scripts and dialogues. That has come up a lot. I went to that Coach's Corner thing back in July that Remax hosted. And the speaker, Wayne Frederick, he spent a lot of time talking about scripts and dialogues. In fact, it was the first thing on his bullet points, and he had 8 things he went through in his presentation. Number 1 was mastering your scripts and dialogues. And so I know that we don't like that, right? Because it feels foreign. They're not my words. I'm not an actor. I'm not an actress. Well, in reality, scripts and dialogues help you to be polished and to know what to say at the right time. I'm going to date myself, but we watch a lot of reruns of Seinfeld. And there's an episode of Seinfeld where George, the character George, spends the entire episode trying to recreate a moment that happened in a staff meeting so that he can come up with he can use his one-liner, his zinger that he came up with after, right? And so he spends he goes to great lengths in this episode, including flying to another city just so that he can use this one-liner comeback. So when I think about scripts and dialogues, I think about that moment where someone says something to you and you have that deer in the headlights and you don't know what to say, but then 30 minutes or an hour later, you're like, oh, there it is. That's what I should have said, right? And so when we think about our scripts and dialogues, these are just things that are tool belts, right? They're in our tool belt DNA. We can pull out at any moment to use to overcome an objection, answer a question, convert someone. I remember driving in the car with Nate years ago, and we had a lovely lady. Her name is Kelly. We'd done multiple transactions with her. I believe she was a sign call. But anyway, we were in escrow. Kelly had something, a craw stuck in her side. We couldn't figure out what was going on. And finally, Nate said to her, Kelly, I can't answer your prayers if I don't know what you're praying for. And it was really brilliant, right? Because it gave her a moment of clarity to say, hey, yeah, you're right. I'm not fully disclosing everything that's bothering me right now. And so we couldn't solve the problem. And so thinking about just those things that we say day to day that help us to overcome objections and help us to connect with people. And then we're going to get into systems and tools. So what do you need to have in order to be an effective phone prospector? But first, let's understand our mindset. So we can transcend any situation. So I want you guys to read through these little bullet points here, and then we'll have a discussion about it. All right. So I love the quote at the bottom there, the truth that most people don't progress because they place limits on themselves, which usually show up in the form of an excuse as to why they can't. And so think about that, right? We base our future success on what we've done in the past. And so if the past looks kind of bleak, then what's our future look like, right? And so really want to think about, we wrote about this in the book with Nate having his Roger Bannister moment, right? Roger Bannister is the guy who broke the 1 mile record, right? Running. And so we think about what are the things we want to do. If you can think it, you can make it happen, right? But we put excuses on ourselves as to why we can't. And so I love the affirmations here. And so thoughts rule the world because they determine our feelings and actions. So what else stood out to you guys? Is there anything in these bullet points here that kind of make you feel like, I like that, or I don't like that, rubs a chord? So let's talk about it.
Well, they're all accurate.
This isn't your first momentum class either, Roberta, right?
Right. But, some of these are more global. Some of them are more specific and personal, if you will. Mm-hmm. I could come off. Sorry about that. And I think that most people don't think that they've got the ability to, including me sometimes, you know. Um, Not that I'm perfect, I didn't mean it to come off that way. We don't always realize that our thoughts can change our day. In our household, we hold each other accountable, which sounds really goofy in just a relationship situation, but we hold each other accountable when we hear each other saying things like, I can't do this, this sucks. And we stop and say, wait, that's not helpful. That's not getting you to where you want to be. And so we call ourselves up on these things, and then we take it more globally as well. Like when we're watching the news, don't fall into that. Don't fall into the mindset of negativity.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back on a news hiatus. I didn't watch the news for years, and then now I got sucked into it. I'm like, it's just so depressing. I don't want to watch it anymore. So it's a balance, right? Because you feel like you need to be informed, but at the same time, there's just so much crap on the news that. So, what else? What else came up for you guys?
I mean, all these kind of just wrap up the saying "mind over matter." That's what came to my thought.
Yep, absolutely. Mind over matter. I love that. Danielle, what about you?
Oh, I mean, my my thought to just take a leap of faith, put into action, signing a lease, and and being in this office and having an awesome neighbor right next door. Yes.
She's talking about me.
So it's just believing that we can do this. Our team can grow and kick some butt and make it happen. There's no reason why we can't do it. And so Tyrese and I had our first little unofficial team meeting yesterday, and he's so full of energy and great ideas and just enthusiasm, and we're just going to do awesome. So I'm super excited, and just started with one decision, and it just kind of been going. And so we're both thinking we're going to do this. It's going to be awesome, and we're going to succeed. So
awesome. Love it. Cool. Right on. All right, let's move on to the next slide. So your mindset. So with phone prospecting, so your psychology is your self-talk. I read a book years ago. It's kind of an old book, but it's called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. And it's amazing the amount of times that we feed ourselves with no or negative thinking, right? And even just something as simple as, oh, I'm so clumsy, or I'm so forgetful, right? Or I don't understand technology. Those are all things, and the mind can't differentiate the difference between what is reality and what you are saying. And they even do this with sports, right? They'll hook sports people up to different EKGs, and they're tracking their brain, their muscle spasms when they actually run through what a drill looks like, right? So there's scientific proof that what starts here actually transcends into the body. So your mindset. So your phone prospecting, many will speak to will tell you no. And the greatest salesman in the world, Og Mandino, says that for every no gets me that much closer to the A, right? And so we want to continue on because there's going to be no's, right? And that's okay, right? We have to keep going until we find the one that says yes. Your mindset each day, it should be to seek the no, because the more no's you get, the closer you'll be to the yes. There was a guy on Nate's team, Jim Silla. He says, I eat rejection for breakfast. And I love that, right? Because that's such a champion's attitude. Be thankful and grateful for each no that you receive. This mindset will help you overcome your fear of being told no. All real estate agents are salespeople. Real estate is a sales business. And so again, and what this basically means is that it doesn't matter if we're selling widgets or pharmaceuticals or real estate, right? At the end of the day, being a salesperson has one component, and is that can I connect with them? Do they know me, like me, trust me, right? And it's just that immediate thing we have to connect. What you're selling doesn't really matter. Sales is sales. So sales is a people business, and understanding people is a part of the key to success. And I kind of think we almost need a little bit of a psychology degree, right? To understand people's emotions. And that's where, we have the DISC that comes into play. The DISC personality assessment kind of breaks that down for us, right? Because it is emotional. Making a move is emotional. Even for investors, I think it's still emotional, right? There's still an element of emotion in there.
Sarah, when I have a client that's really having a hard time with something, or we've overcome some major obstacle, I said, you know what, real estate's like 90% counseling and talking people off a ledge, and 10% sales. So
absolutely. Yep. Because the house sells itself. They either like it or they don't, right?
Yeah. Nobody's ever bought a house because I told them to.
No, absolutely. It's kind of like there was a script about, you don't pay a doctor to help you deliver a baby. You pay the doctor to be there in case there's anything that happens during the course of labor, but the baby's coming one way or another, right? And just the natural way the body works, right? So same kind of thing with the house. If they like it, they're going to buy it, right? Or they're going to try to buy it. And so we're there to help prevent issues from happening, right? And help guide them through that and help them understand their own emotions around that. All right, your psychology is your self-talk. So understand the seller's mindset can go a long way in preparing for a phone call. And so what's going on with them, right? Where are they at? And we're going to talk about for sale by owners and expireds as well today. So seller's mindset. So not looking to sell. I want to know the value. I want to know the value of my property, but I'm not necessarily looking to sell, right? Do we know people out there like that all the time, right? I look at my house all the time. Somebody posted in this Facebook group that they had an appraisal that came in for $345,000. I'm like, that's very tempting. Very tempting to look at, how much money I could net on that, right? So we're looking to sell. So, and I heard this statistic on a webinar I was on the other day, 78% of people are thinking of selling. So 78%. And so when we look at our first app or we look at our databases, there was another statistic they also shared in that same webinar that we're missing 70% of the opportunity that's in our database. So that's where first comes into play, right? Because it's spoon feeding you and saying, hey, go call these people, right? So then we have people who are looking to sell. I'm curious about what my property is worth. How long will it take to sell, cost to sell it, and what will the agent do to sell it? We can't name names, but there's a company out there that's talking about sell your house for top dollar and stay in it for 6 months. I think that y'all need to get in front of that, right? And talk to your people about it so they don't become victim to that type of, slogan, right? It's a gimmick. Do we know that it's a BS gimmick? Yes, right? There is very fine print that they're not talking about on the TV commercial. I'm not saying it doesn't work for some, but it does work for some, but there's also some really big pitfalls in that too. So I think that we need to be getting in front of our people and letting them know that, hey, you can do that too, Danielle. Everything's selling for top dollar right now, and you can negotiate a rent back for them. You can do the same thing, right? Yep. So the expired, I want to sell my house, and I'm really frustrated that it hasn't sold. That my expectation wasn't met. And you think about someone who's sat on the market 90 days, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, however long, right? 2 years in some cases. If it's a luxury property a few years ago. So I'm frustrated, right? I was made a promise in the beginning and that promise wasn't fulfilled. And so with for sale or with expired, you got to have thick skin. But I also think you gotta have a little bit of compassion and understanding as well. Sometimes it's their own fault, right? They didn't take accountability on how to price it, and the agent wasn't strong enough to educate them and to be honest with them. But then sometimes it's just the agent throwing something up against the wall and hoping it sticks, right? And not taking into consideration the ramification of that for that particular person. So I think we have to have thick skin and some compassion. FSBOs, I want to sell, but I'm more motivated by saving money. Most realtors think that for sale by owners are crazy and they hate realtors. And so we hit the gas, right? We don't slow down. We hit the gas when we see those signs and we keep cruising right by. They have a motivation to sell, and the majority of for sale by owners do list their house with an agent. At some point they end up, right? Because they're not getting the exposure. They don't know what they're doing. And if you guys can get in front of a for sale by owner and have the conversation about, I just want to help you sell your house, right? We just had the FSBO class that'll be coming back up, and I'm sure there's some recordings on our YouTube channel that you guys can check out. So saving money, right? If we can demonstrate to them how you can make them more money, would they be interested in working with you? And I would say the majority of the time is going to be yes. There are some people that just don't like realtors, and that's okay, right? They're out there, but we live in a world of abundance, so we say next and we move on. Farming. I want to know why you're calling me and if you are reputable. So Danielle, you're stepping up your game with your farm area. Roberta, I know you've farmed in the past. So I want to know why you're calling me, and are you reputable? Can you get the job done? And if, you've been farming for a long time, Danielle, in the same area. So I think that you changing your game could really blow up your farm area.
It will. I have 100% confidence it will.
Yeah. So cool. And, the other thing I would check too is just what's the turnover rate? Are you in that year, right? Because every neighborhood cycles. And so there's always houses that sell, right? But then there's some years that more houses sell than any other times. And that's that cycle. So I would check that and see if you're primed for a cycle.
Okay.
And then be ready. All right, so thoughts matter. So in order to create a life of abundance, you must retrain your mind to think in unlimited terms. So again, we base our success in the future based on what we've done in the past. And so I want you guys to spend just a couple minutes and write down some thoughts that you have, limited thoughts that you have around prospecting. So people hate realtors, whatever, right? Write those down. And we lost Roberta. I know where she went. Oh, there she is.
Here, I'm just not on screen.
Your virtual background. Well, we'll give it a second for Tyrese to come back and then we'll dive in. Well, you two can share. So what are some thoughts that you have? What do we got on chat here? Hold on. Oh, okay.
Was I supposed to be typing it in chat? Sorry.
No. I was just looking at the chat. Tyrese said he was running to the restroom. So what are some limited thoughts we have around phone prospecting?
Well, yeah, before he gets back, I just want to say, I've had people actually say, oh my God, you're just calling me so you can sell my house. Well, I know what you want. And it's very frustrating. And that's not an excuse for me to not get on the phone and call people. Just don't call that person. But it's weird. And then I'm not a one-to-one person communicator. I'm a microphone communicator. And so I think I have problems with that. And I need to.
But that comes from your political background, my dear.
Right. Well, and all my training. I mean, I've been microphone speaking since I was 10 years old, running crowds and groups of people. And I have no problem standing up in the Crescent Ballroom down at the Sheraton and talking to 1,000 buyers. I have no problem.
That would make me throw up.
No, I have no problem. And I've done it. I've done the, other people's money tour, with these people who take people's money to show them how to buy a house.
Oh,
So I've done that.
oh my gosh.
No problem at all.
I had a 70-year-old lady client that got sucked into that, and she was just called me just like to vent and cry because she spent so much money and they didn't teach her anything, and she didn't have the resources. She was 70 and retired.
I know.
Had fixed income.
I get those calls now, and I'm like, stop it. For me, it was a generation. It was a generator for buyers, so I could get them and then just kind of, pull them away from that crazy. But anyway, that's kind of my issue. Is just, you would think that I would not have some of these fears, like even walking up and knocking on a door. You would think I would not have these fears. I used to do it for politics all the time. Just walk up and, ask for a petition signature, for goodness sakes, or ask for a vote. But
that's because you had a reason to do the door knock.
You weren't selling yourself. You were selling something else outside of you.
No, I was selling me.
Okay, it was your.
Yeah.
Yes, but it was different because you were serving the community. So yes, you were selling yourself, but you were selling something that was a core belief in you, that you were doing something good for the community. And so why vote for me so that I can represent you as a person. So it's a completely different vibe than I want to help you buy or sell a house. You weren't getting paid to get for that petition signature. You weren't getting paid for their vote, right? You're getting paid if you sell their house, right? So it's a different vibe. But here's the thing I want you to flip your thinking is serve regardless of opportunity, or serve before opportunity. Either one works. Okay. So I'm picking up the phone. I'm calling some of my database. It's not about the sale. Serve regardless of opportunity. How are you? How are you liking your home? What's going on with you?
And I know I can do it because I did it during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I did it during COVID. I would call people and just check on their health.
We're still in COVID.
I know, but not the same way. I know you and I think that, but other people don't necessarily. But you're right. I need to just sit down and make calls. How are you doing? How's the family? Are you getting back into school? How's that going? You know, all those things. And I can do it. I did it in COVID. Last year, COVID. Lockdown COVID. I should say lockdown.
This is free COVID. We're in free COVID now. Free roaming COVID.
Crazy. So yeah. So, and here's the thing, Roberta, because you have that microphone training, you could still do the events where you're getting up on the platform and speaking to an audience. You can still do that, because I don't think I don't want to take your stripes away from the zebra, right? It's who you are, and it's a gift that you have. So I think, can you mix in both, right? Where you've got both, right? And so getting away from that, I'm trying to sell you something, and into the mindset of being a servant, and how can I help you?
Yeah, I know that. I just have to follow through on it. Yeah.
So let's rewrite the belief, right? Instead of being, what's the belief? Is that I'm trying to sell you something. What's the belief?
The belief is more just well, I don't know what the belief is, I guess. It's just a fear. It's just a fear in me.
Okay.
Fear of rejection. Like you said, the 5th grade dance really was hard.
So how about, because I'm of value, people love me, or I love serving my community. I come from a servant's heart.
I can work with those.
Okay. All right. What else? So what are some, Danielle, what was a limited thought you wrote down?
Well, so I can't stand the phone calls, the phone calls on my home phone, cell phone, and text from investors that are constantly hounding, buying lists. I even get hit up to sell my in-laws' house because I'm a Martinez. So like, hey, are you wanting to sell blah, blah, blah? I'm like, sure, it's not my house. Can I sell it out from underneath my in-laws? You know, I kind of like answered this guy sarcastically because I get so sick of it. And so I don't want to be that pitchy salesperson, and like they first answer the phone and they're already annoyed because I'm a realtor and they get calls all the time from other investors. So, because everybody I talk to gets something in their mail or on their phone. And so I just don't want to be that person. I don't want to, I hate cold calling. I hate reaching out to people I don't know because of that reason.
So
I
we're not
won't do
going to,
it.
we're not necessarily cold calling, right? So it's the people that you've run ads for that have responded to the ads. Those
Right.
are kind of a lukewarm lead because they
Yep.
raised their hand or they responded to you, right?
Yep.
Then you are going to get rejections. When you just are, you're going to
Right.
get Tyrese. When you call those people, are going to say, I didn't sign up for anything. I didn't click on this, because there's so much stuff coming to us and at us. Like I was joking the other day, something came across my Facebook and I clicked on it, and Mitch is like, "We're going to buy it." I'm like, "No, I'm going to let other ones show up in my Facebook so I can kind of research that." And within 30 seconds, I had like 10 other options show up in my Facebook, right? Of different companies. And then all of a sudden it started sending me stuff that was like, you know, women's health, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is crazy what is happening with the algorithms and the stuff that's happening on social media. So you're going to get people who will say that because they're going to be like me. I clicked on it. I didn't know. I just clicked on it. Next thing you know, I'm on some list, right? And so I think we have to shift our mindset in that. When you call in your database, you don't feel that way, right?
No.
Okay. So it's just
When I
cold
call.
leads when you call. So I think, you know, again, Aug Bendino, for every no gets me that closer to the yes. And if you come from a space of I'm serving, right? You raised your hands. And if they say, I'm not interested, great. That's awesome. You know, have a great day. Right. And so coming from that space of a different mindset of, again, servant, right? I'm of service to you. You raised your hands. Maybe you didn't mean to. That's okay, right? I'm going to move on to the next one. And I get those calls too. I get do you have any listings that, you know, I could buy? I'm like, dude, if I had a listing right now, I would not be selling it to you, right? So I get those all the time. I have not gotten the calls for my house, although I get Redfin and OfferPad sends me letters all the time. But
here's my favorite. My favorite is lately, yes, we want to know if you were willing to sell your property at 20241 North 67th Avenue. And I'm like, dude, that's an office. That's a retail strip. It's a retail complex. Yes, but would you like to sell that house?
You're like,
and I'm thinking, I looked at Rick and I said, the owner of that is a friend of ours. And I said, you think I should call Tom and verify whether or not he gave that to me? Can I sell it?
Yeah. So, but
Bad
so
luck.
I think you can take all those things that you don't like about that and don't be spammy. Right. And you could even, so they talk about the greatest weakness is your greatest strength. And so how can you flip that around? And so flip it around so that, when I get recruiters come after me, I will tell them, I have my spiel and then I say, but we're looking for someone like you. Would you be interested in finding out what Remax has to offer? And it freaking kills it every time, right? Because I turn it around, I'm like, come join us, right? We need someone like you. And so I think use it, Daniel, use it to your advantage. How can you rewrite that so that you're not coming across creepy and even maybe poke some fun at it, right? I saw a meme on Facebook the other day that said, if I see you broke down on the side of the road, I'm not going to stop and help you because you've been offered to extend your warranty on your car, right? So kind of the same thing here. Can we turn that around and have some fun with it where we knock people off of their thought process with that because they're so on guard to just put this up and you come across as different, right? So that'd be something I would maybe noodle on and see how you can do it differently, right? Tyrese, you got any limited thoughts around phone prospecting?
I guess I don't know. I guess one thing would be like knowledge, I guess. But
Okay.
Honestly, I'm kind of used to pounding the phone and you kind of just roll with the punches and kind of just flow based off the conversation. I mean like the for sale by owner, I just call them, try to book an appointment, and then like you said, serve regardless of opportunity, and that's what I continue to do.
Yep. Awesome. Well, let's keep that positive attitude. And, I know I've said this to you before, but a few transactions in, you're going to feel like I got this, right? And, I would say welcome the challenging transactions because those are the ones you're going to learn the most from, right? And if you can survive those, you'll be like, I got this, right? And so knowledge will come. And here's the thing. Even if you don't have the answer, you've got Danielle, you have a whole company. And so you can always say, you know what, I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but let me get back to you on that because I'd hate to give you inaccurate information. And I still say that to this day. And I got 25 years of experience. Sometimes I get tripped up by things. I'm like, hey, let me find out. I don't know the answer. And I know that's uncomfortable when you're new to say that. But once you get some experience, you're like, I don't know the answer. And I'm okay saying that. Right. And, I said this the other day. I don't know where we were at. Someone said, how long have you been in the business? And it wasn't the question to me. It was someone else in the room. I was like, feels like forever. And everyone laughed. Right. And so it's a great script for you when someone says, well, how long have you been doing this? Oh, it feels like forever. And then everyone laughs and we move on. Right. So spend some time and really, get honest with yourself around what are your thoughts around this, and then rewrite it into a belief that's unlimited, right? I serve regardless of opportunity. And if you come from a space of that, who's going to say no to you? I should have my Og Mandino book is in my briefcase behind me, but one of the passages he says in there is that who can say no to my goods when they hear the love in my heart?
Aw,
You never read that book, Danielle?
I have, but I forgot that.
Yeah,
It's been a
so
long
it's
time.
in the chapter called I Will Greet This Day with Love in My Heart, right? And so he talks about that, right? And so he even says, put your hand on your heart before you prospect, right? And say to yourself, I don't think he says put your hand on your heart. I think he says say to yourself, say to the person before you see them that I love you, right? And so again, if I serve from opportunity, you're always going to run into those people who just are what they are, right? But can you turn it around and rewrite the belief into something that's unlimited thinking? All right, so dual purpose of the call. So your role and the goal is to add value. So the rationale behind all expired calls is the same. So let's see if we can sit down and talk to see if I'm a viable option for you. In the expired bootcamp class, there's a script in there that says, I specialize in homes that should have sold that didn't. And I think when you're calling expireds, it's a really powerful way to start the call because you've got a real short window of time on the phone. And depending on when you're calling the expired, if it's within the first 30 days, it's like poking a hornet's nest, right? So I would even encourage you guys, if you want to add expireds to your funnel, go back a year, go back 3 years, go back 5 years. Those people aren't as pissed off, right? And they may still have a need to sell. Oh, we lost Roberta. And, you know, they may, and maybe they can make more money, right? And you come along and you educate them that, hey, this is how much more money you can make today. So we want to be mad, right? We've got to be mentally tough, got to have thick skin, committed, right? We're going to be absolutely committed, and then detached from the outcome. Because, you know, expireds is a numbers game. You got to call enough people in order to have enough no's in order to get that one appointment. But I love that script because it gives you a real, you know, if you could say that in that first 10 seconds on the call, I specialize in homes that should have sold that didn't. They'll say, well, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? So again, with expireds, it's not for everybody. And I'm certainly not, I'm not the type of coach that's going to tell you if you're not comfortable calling expireds, then we're going to move on to what you are comfortable with, because it doesn't make any sense for either of us, for me just to keep banging you over the head with something you're never going to do. Same thing with door knocking, right? If you're not comfortable with it, you're not comfortable with it. That's okay. Let's find a workaround, right? So again, get mad. And I think you got to get mad in any prospecting, right? So we got to be mentally tough, absolutely committed, and then detached from the outcome. Who to call first. So always have an active list of people to call. So let's see who's the most common. Past clients. So people that know you, like you, trust you. These guys are a great referral source. Just listed. So now, if you're going to make calls to just listed and just solds, you need to buy those lists from a company. The Red X is probably the most reputable out there and the most affordable. However, don't go buy something, because that is cold calling. If you're not comfortable doing it, don't spend the money on it, because it's just a waste, right? And so you could still do just listed postcards, flyers, door knocking, that type of stuff. Your center of influence, this is your sphere, your top 50, again, people who know you, you're socially connected with. This could be a great resource. Social media, you guys, putting it out there. There should be posts going out every few days that let people know you're in real estate. And it doesn't have to be, I'm this, you know, the expert, blah, 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 list or buy or sell with me. It's just subtle things, right? There, Nate posted an article today about investment homes. It's a great article that just even the headline is enough to say, Tyrese, oh yeah, Tyrese is in real estate, and just constantly being top of mind. I just got the text this morning from Social Prompt with the text that's going to go out in 2 days. And it really, it's actually kind of cool. So what does it say here? It says why RE/MAX is the leading employer for women. And so it's just, you know, it's just like kind of almost a little bit of a recruiting thing. The previous one was how to perfect the home search, their home buying search. And so you guys get these little text messages that come from Prompt that you can push out, 8 steps for buying a home. Really just nice branded stuff that you don't have to think about, but lets people know. So, you know, you're taking this class. Could you push something out? Hey, I just learned this today in this class, right? And so always be thinking about, is what I'm doing right now worthy of a post that's going to remind people or let them know that I'm in real estate, and then they raise their hand. I closed a deal in July in Sun City West that this girl was, so her husband was my brother's gaming friend. They used to spend all hours of the night online. They didn't realize that they were practically neighbors. And then one day they asked each other where they lived. Well, now they met for happy hour, right? And so over the years, kind of hung out with them. Now she's an associate, an acquaintance, right? Because she's not even really my brother's friend. She's, you know, her husband's my brother's friend. But had it not been for social media, I would not have had that opportunity to help her sell a house. And her dad actually knows several agents inside of our office. And then it's also going to be a listing when they get the remodel done on the house that I sold them. So really don't overlook the power of social media, you guys, and getting that out there to remind people and let them know that you're in business. So just sold, again, you know, if you're going to buy a list, make sure you're going to actually do it, but you could still do postcards and notifications to the homes around it. For sell by owners, I have a love-hate with Zillow. You guys know that, but there are for sale by owners on Zillow. Just have to be mindful that the information you're going to get on Zillow is not the seller's information. It's going to be whoever's the premier agent for that zip code. So if you want to work that for sale by owner, I would suggest you drive by the house and follow the instructions that are on the sign in the yard. Okay. Because I called as a for sale by owner and I got connected to the agent. So just be mindful of that. Okay. Just expireds. If you're farming, Danielle, I don't know if you do this now, but I would set yourself up on a search so that if anything expires in your area, you get an alert on that, because that's good stuff for you to have, right? Any areas that you're working like that, you want to set up an expired. So again, I wish there was like a magic number I could tell you guys as to when's the best time to call. Some people like to call within 24 hours. Those are probably the ones that are the most irritated because they've gotten 22 phone calls in 24 hours from agents, right? Sometimes they don't even know that their house has expired, right? That's lack of communication that they have with their listing agent. So I think, you know, you got to find the sweet spot for you that makes sense for you. And that's why a lot of times I will advocate for coaching clients to go back a year or 3 years or 5 years, because those people are a lot easier to talk to. Okay. Any questions on that?
I just have a comment. I was just looking, when you prompted me to do that, I just looked into I do have an automatic search when anything comes up active in my neighborhood or whatever, and my farm area, and I've never had expired or canceled selected. So I literally just changed that. So
Good.
I can't believe
Awesome.
I never thought of that. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're
Pearls of
welcome.
wisdom from Sarah.
Spare the materials.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So who do we want to call first? So part of your guys' homework from today's class is identify 10 people from your personal contact list that you want to call, that you should call. And then let me see, I gotta move you guys over here. So 5 past clients that you would want to just call, right? Just, hey, how are you doing? How are you liking your house? Use the Ford, right? We're still in the pandemic. How are you dealing with it? How are your kids doing? I know that's a pretty loaded question, so be careful on who you're actually asking that question. Your first app, assuming that you guys are using that, you go right into your first app. That's going to spoon up or tee you up, right? Spoon feed you some leads that you should probably contact. Alex is doing a class tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the Fatco training room. We're going to take a deep dive into first. So if you've kind of played with it, but you haven't gotten really into it, Tyrese, you don't know what it is at all, come to that class and check it out. So it is in person. We are not going to be Zooming it because of the proprietary information. That is an exclusive tool to Revax only. So it will not be being streamed online. So you'll have to come to the class. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be breakfast, and that's always a good thing, right? All right, so what to say? So we want to start with some scripts, right? So knowing your script so that the fear of what to say doesn't stop you from picking up the phone. So start by using scripts others have seen that their success with. The Ford script, you guys, is the easiest script that we naturally do. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. You could just master that, which I think all of us already are a master with it. It makes that so much easier. And then we do have an objections class that gives you a little bit more meat with some of the scripts that come up, or some of the most common objections. Record yourself. Right? That's a terrifying notion, right? But record yourself and then listen back and see how many times you say or you know, have different whatever. Mine is so. That's one of my crutch words. It's so. And so when I listen to myself, I hear that and drives me crazy. So changing those things, asking the right questions, then finding common grounds. That's where the Ford helps a lot, is finding that common ground with people. So that when we can relate, it breaks down those barriers, right? When we can relate to people. And then practice, role play. You know, Danielle, I would say in your weekly meetings that this is something that all of you guys do. You know, spend 15 minutes to a half hour every week role playing, right? What are the most common things that are coming up? What are some challenges that you're running into? How do you overcome an objection to a client that they need to make an offer that's $50,000 over asking, right? Role play those things so that we're familiar with what to say, right? And it becomes a part of our DNA. And I mean, start out easy, right? Start out with just the Ford, you know, role playing that. And one thing too about role play is be nice. You know, be nice to each other, because if you go in for the kill, it doesn't make it fun for anybody. And then it just makes you not want to do it the next time. And then after you role play, right, and you master the content, now you can adapt it to you. Now you can you can make it sound like it's you, but you've got to master the content first. So many times we get in there, we're like, oh, I don't like this, I want to change it. And then we dilute or we modify it so much that the script has lost its power. Okay, so be really careful about that. You can say something exactly the way it is, but in your tone, your inflection, your body language, all of that, now it's yours, right? You've ingrained it into you. Okay. So personalize, right? So we want to deliver it in your dialogue, right? We want to memorize it, so know it, be it the subject matter, internalize it, so that means we live it, right? So it's displayed in our values and our expertise, and then you can customize it. One of my favorite quotes is that Bruce Lee said that he did not fear a man who knew 10,000 kicks. He feared a man who had practiced one kick 10,000 times. And that's kind of what I think about role play, right? Is practicing that kick over and over and over and over again, so that it becomes internalized in us. And we don't even have to think, Tyrese, when the objection comes up, we just have the response right in our back pocket, right? That was one of the things I learned in Toastmasters years ago. I did Toastmasters, and we had this thing called impromptu speaking. So you had 2 minutes and you had to use the word of the day. So the Toastmaster would throw out the question, right? And you could either answer the question or you could go off on a tangent, but as long as you met the criteria of the time and used the word of the day, you were good, right? But I loved that part of Toastmasters because it really got you good on quick thinking, right? Quick thinking. Someone throws a question out at you, and a lot of times we get stuck and we stumble. We're like, I don't know, right? And if we're in a situation, in a sales situation where we're either trying to convert someone or trying to negotiate with someone, that could be the kiss of death, right? Is that deer in the headlights freeze moment. And so for me, the impromptu speaking was really valuable because it taught me to be quick on my feet. So role play. What to say. So your willingness and ability to match your expectations. So must match your expectations. If you're unable to efficiently implement the strategies necessary to achieve your goals around phone prospecting, you must seek out the necessary training. So don't just take this class, right? Really spend some time and dig into it. Really dig into your limited thoughts and rewrite those as powerful statements that help you to change that. So we have our choices, right, which lead to action, which become our habits, that forms our character and helps to shape our destiny, and then ultimately leaves our legacy. So what we do, so what you do, and then what are you becoming? So I love that slide. So your willingness and ability must match your expectation. So we're not going to role play. I'm going to save you guys that. If we were in person, we'd do a little role play. So we're not going to do that. All right, so systems and tools. So creating massive accountability to take action. So your call scripts. So the most basic resources for phone prospecting. We want to use them on every call. This helps to build your confidence. And then you have all your scripts right in front of you, right? Practice those scripts. We are going to actually, in September, we're going to do a prospecting / role play class. So I'm not sure of the date yet, but look out for that. We're going to do it at North. We'll spend 30 minutes role playing and just talking about it, building up, and then we'll spend an hour-ish actually prospecting. So I'm looking forward to that. It's been a request. We've done it with our live classes for workmen, but I think it might be something I put on the rotation at least once a quarter just to bring us together and actually, be intentional about prospecting. And get people over the hump with role play, right? So we want to guide the caller with the concepts, idea, structure, and flow, and then make them your own, right? You're the guide. So, but we can still adjust that so that it sounds like Tyrese versus what Roberta might sound like. Your voicemail plan. So this is an excellent opportunity to break the ice with low stress. Have a voicemail script, and then that's between 8 and 14 seconds. So we don't want to drone on and on and on with voicemail. It used to be voicemail, right? Like you could leave mail on the voicemail. Right? You could leave a message on there. And nowadays, like, who leaves messages? I get annoyed with messages because now I got to go check the message, listen to the message. And then every time I look at my phone, that notification's there. But if I listen to it, I might end up forgetting to call you back. So it's a whole thing with voicemail, right? So be mindful of that. A lot of times, some cold call companies will say, don't leave a message, text. Don't leave a message after you call. They don't answer, send a quick text. And I would tell you to even up your game. If it's a cold call lead, Tyrese, and you've got a phone number, they don't answer, send a video text. Hey, this is Tyrese from Remax Professionals, just reaching out to you. You called about 123 Elm Street. Give me a call or let me know when it's convenient to give you a call back. That's going to get watched. It's going to get watched. And here's the thing, your competition isn't doing it.
Yeah, I do those videos from after I do open houses. I do my follow-up, I do videos.
Good. Well, with those leads that Danielle gave you, try the video text. So who are you calling? Why are you calling? And without saying it all, right? So who are you and why are you calling? Voicemails turns into a cold call, turns a cold call into a lukewarm call. And then we have technology to dial directly to voicemail. So there's slide dial, right? If you want to you want to break into this, you could use slide dial. Most people have cell phones these days. So you could go right to their voicemail versus actually them picking up. And I think there's some robo dialers out there that can do that too. But if you have a phone number, you guys, phone number is worth its weight in gold. right? Because, you know, an email, it's easy for me to reject you on email. It's easy for me to hit spam. It's easy for me to hit delete, but a phone number is direct contact. So if you have a phone number, freaking pick up the phone and call them. So phone number acquisition. So again, this is like a Red X. So it's a search where they provide you a list. And so I like Red X. They're reputable. They scrub their data. So just, you know, but again, if you're not going to actually do those types of calls, don't go spend the money on it. You got to know the law, right? So the do not call list, that's one cool thing about Red X is it actually gives you that information, and you got to know when you can call and when you can't call, right? So there are timelines on that. So you don't want to be that guy who calls at 7:30 in the morning. I actually had one of those from Zillow the other day, called me at 7:30 in the morning. I'm like, you obviously are not, you don't know that it's not 8 o'clock in Arizona, right? So you got to pay attention to that. I should have turned her in because she annoyed me. But anyway, I didn't. So I'm just kidding. But she did annoy me. That part I'm not kidding about. But anyway, want to follow that, because if someone gets irritated with you and you just happen to be that day when someone's like, oh, I've had enough with these people cold calling me, and they turn you in, it's a fine that could be very, very financially catastrophic. So make sure you follow the rules on that. Now, if they're a sign call or a lead call that's raised their hand first, the do not call laws don't apply, right? Now, as soon as they ask you to remove them, you got to follow that rule. All right, so we are not going to role play. So wrap up. So first things, you guys, we spent a lot of time talking about mindset because it's critical. What goes on up here will decide how your day is going to go. It will decide if you're going to pick up the phone and make the calls or not, right? And so your thoughts matter. So we want to think ourselves into unlimited terms. Real estate is unlimited, right? It really is. And I don't care what market we're in, the sky's the limit, as long as what's right here is what you believe is true for you. We want to have the purpose, right? So know your role to add value. And again, come from a place of service, serve regardless of opportunity. And then who to call first, I always want to have a list. I think your sphere of influence and your top 50 should be the ones you start with. Your list on first, right, should also be people that you call. And then know your scripts and dialogues, practice them, know what to say. Again, the forward is the easiest thing to do, right, is to use that. Daniel, I think it might be mindful for us to do some a little bit of role play in helping Tyrese with some of those online leads that you're generating, and what's the best things that people, and I don't know the answer off the top of my head, so I'll have to do some research. But when it comes to those, and I'm guessing it's mostly Facebook, right? Megaphone leads.
Yeah, and a lot of times they don't even know that they raised their hand.
Done something. Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of like, First IO, they're not really raising their hand. We just have Big Brother looking at their searching. So it is definitely a cold call, even if we have their number or email address.
Okay, so let's talk about that on our call on Friday and see if we can't come up with some scripts, or at least point him in the right direction to get some scripts that will work to overcome, to get those people to talk to him. Okay,
thank you.
So know your systems and tools, right? Okay, so let's jump into section 2. How am I doing on time? Okay, so we got 6 steps to success in section 2, which is, let me go back to that, best practices in phone prospecting. So goal setting. You guys are going to get some trackers in your material, right? Because it's momentum. We track everything. What's your goal, right? What's the objective? A contact is worth $25,000. So when I coach new people coming in, I tell them, make it a goal to connect with 5 people every day. Roberta, if you had 5 meaningful conversations every day with people that were in your database who knew you, liked you, and trust you, you would have more business than you know what to do with, right? Because here's the thing, you guys, they already know you're in real estate. They already know that. So when you call up and you say, hey, how are you doing? I was in the neighborhood. I was thinking about you. What's going on, right? How's the family? How's your job? How'd you spend the summer, right? What are you guys going to do next summer when we're through COVID? I just hit all of them: family, occupation, recreation, drinks. And here's the thing, they're going to turn the conversation. They're going to say, blah, 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 blah. How are you? What's going on with real estate? How's the market? So when they know me, like me, trust me, I don't have to ask, because the conversation is going to organically take that turn, and they're going to ask me what's going on. And the big one I've been getting all week is, how's the book sales? What's going on with the book, right? Because people see that and they know that that's what's going on in my life. And so, so we can use that, and then that organically spins the conversation, right? And so I want you guys, in part of your unlimited thoughts, is that they know I'm in real estate, right? The conversation is going to take, it's going to naturally go that way. And then that's my opportunity. And the phone call, the relationship, the byproduct is the referral. Does that make sense? I think that to me, that just feels so much better than I'm calling to get business, right? I'm calling to get referrals. So we're going to talk about your environment and your calling station and setting yourself up for success with that. And then what are some rituals around prospecting? And then we want to track your numbers. So we want to know the goal, right? And then we want to track how many people did you talk to? How many appointments did you set, right? How many voicemails did you leave? In our new groovy tracker, the real estate journey to abundance, I like to call it the beast in a positive way. There's a place in here for you guys to track your daily contacts. Did I send a text? Did I do a social media post? Did I make a call? Did I send an email? Did I write a note card? Which, by the way, note cards are really powerful, you guys. Door knock. Did I have a lunch? Did I do a video? Did I do a pop by? Did I send a Facebook Messenger? So we really tried to make these daily contacts relevant to what's happening in our world today. Okay, so you can track all that stuff in there, but know your numbers, know what's going on. Performance standards, we're going to dig into that too. What are performance standards that you should be tracking? And then accountability is key, right? Keeping each other accountable. You know, you and Tyrese could have some fun with this, right? Make it a competition, you know, have some fun and see, you know, who wins at the end of the week, right? Roberta, you could do the same thing. I know you're there, but you could do the same thing with Rick and Monica. So the big four. So our 4 questions to answer for each prospecting call. Are they a potential client today? If no, are they one in the near future? If no, in Q2, do they know anyone who could become your, question 2, sorry, would they know anybody who could become a client? So again, I'm not necessarily starting the conversation this way. I'm going to naturally let it happen. So then they think of me and they lead the conversation. I just muted myself, sorry. So contacts. So set a goal for each contact and the conversation. So how many contacts do we need for an appointment? Does anybody know that? Does anybody know their conversions? Roberta, you're on mute. Danielle?
I don't know my conversions. I can tell you that it's, well, I don't cold call. And so if you're talking about the leads that I follow up on, probably batting in 1,000.
What about just even your sphere of influence? You know how many calls it takes to get an appointment?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Roberta?
I don't call them.
Tyrese,
So-
do not listen
Do not
to her.
listen to us, Tyrese.
So Sarah, so in the 120-day listing challenge, there's DCFH tracking. And so
Yeah.
I'm starting that today.
Yep. So daily success habit points. I think it's, I have to go look at my notes. I should know this. I think it's 196 points to get a listing appointment, I think, but I'll dig that.
Like 300 something.
To get a listing appointment?
Yeah.
No, that's a closing. It's
I'm gonna-
296 to get a closing.
I'm gonna look right now what they said.
But I do just want to add for Tyrese's benefit, hopefully for his benefit. You know, Danielle and I sit here and go, I don't know. I don't call them. Well, I'll speak for me really personally. I've been doing this for 20 years. My conversations are organic. I at my stage don't call for appointments to say, hey, you want to sell your house? Or whatever. It just comes up. By the way, my neighbor wants to sell their house. And so it's for me, it's developed over time, where I don't feel like I need to make those phone calls, but the truth is I do need to make those phone calls. I do need to make the prospecting calls, because when the pipeline goes empty after this crazy market, then what am I going to do?
Well, and if you're not top of mind, you're not first in line.
Right. So the phone calls do have to be made. I guess my point is I just don't always, I'm not always trying to make the appointment. Going back to the megaphone deals, I pass all of those to Monica. I don't have a conversion rate, but I will tell you in terms of those who theoretically raised their hand, out of maybe 50, 2 have at least engaged.
That's not bad.
So I don't know if that's good or bad or indifferent, but at least 2 have engaged.
I think that's decent actually for 50 leads to have 2 engaged.
Yeah.
And if you're doing the free.
And I could go look at really what, that's an estimate in my name, in my mind. Yeah.
So Sarah, on appointment calculator for the listing challenge. It says
Uh-huh.
DSH points to set one listing appointment. In our experience, it takes 370 DSH points to set one listing appointment.
Really? That number is higher than what it was at Leverage last year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
I need to get cracking.
Well, yeah. So that's interesting. Okay. Well, let's track it for you and just see what that looks like for you.
I got an app. There's an app for that.
So inside the income goal sheet that's inside the Workman business plan, the income goal sheet will walk you through how many contacts you need to have in order. I mean, I know they're doing a DSH. That's on all of Workbench, and they'll probably a conglomeration of all the times they've done the 120-day challenge. But the income goal sheet that's in the business plan will tell you exactly how many contacts you need to have. So, and remember, one contact is worth $25,000. So Tyrese, you want to make 100 grand, 5 contacts, right? 4 contacts, right? 25, yeah, 4. So emails. So we want to know the goal. So the goal of every call is to get an email address, right? Or some kind of a follow-up. So we want to, then that way we can follow up with them and add that content into our database if we don't already have it. A lot of times these leads that you're getting are going to have, that's all you're going to have is email. So then the objective is try to get a phone number, right? And so again, video. I can't stress the importance of this. Is just even just those quick little, sorry I missed you, or I can't wait to connect with you. Here's a face with a name. And lastly here on the steps is to celebrate. You guys have to celebrate and recognize every single win, even if it's small, right? Even if it's small. So inspiration, the proven inspiration method to achieve results. We want to celebrate every little victory along the way, because here's the thing that inspires you. Next time prospecting comes on your calendar, if you've left that feeling good, you're going to want to do it again. Okay, so make sure you celebrate even the smallest victories. Environment. So let's talk about your environment, setting yourself up for success here. So it needs to be quiet, right? Do we need to be not disrupted, right? So you could put a sign on your door, Danielle, in your new office, leave us alone, we're prospecting, right? Prospecting time. So that way people know not to bother you.
Not being at home in my living room with the family around is enormous right now. So
sure, absolutely, yeah.
Every little distraction that comes by is way better than what I had at home. So I just already feel so much more focused.
Good.
With my time.
Yeah, so to remove the distractions, right? And then is your space conducive for your desired level of productivity? So, we used to, when I managed Nate's team, we had our call-in sheets, and they were strategically placed by the phones, right? So when the phone would ring, someone could grab a sheet, and they had either a seller sheet or a buyer sheet, right? So those were there strategically so that people were in the habit of using them. We used to also have the disc stuff, right? We had that little character thing of the discs, the different personality styles. So that also would be a visual to remind us what kind of personality style are we dealing with here. So, make sure that you have what you need within arm's reach and that your desk isn't cluttered, right? A messy environment creates a messy mindset. Okay. So music. I personally like to listen to classic or some kind of spa music while I'm working. Baroque style music has actually been proven to channel the other side of your brain to help with learning and memory retention, all of that stuff. So I think whatever type of music, you certainly probably don't want to be listening to like heavy metal while you're prospecting. Just because you don't necessarily want to have them hear you, hear that on the other end. But whatever is going to make you feel good and feel energetic, right? That helps you with your tone and your approach. Clean and fresh, right? We want to have it clean and organized. Maybe have a plant or a candle, some lighting, whatever that looks like for you, just to set the mood. Okay. Yeah, my office, if you looked around, it's not that bad. I cleaned it up, but every time I walk in here, I'm like, oh, right. So you want to make sure, and at the end of the day, I would always tidy up people's desks. So that when you come in the next day, you're not walking into chaos, because that's just really icky to walk into messy stuff. Okay. Even if that means you just pile everything up in a neat pile, at least it's in one spot and not scattered everywhere. Your calling station, you want to keep it simple, right? But limit any distractions. Have your phone and your computer. And if you're going to use the main phone, obviously we can silence our cell phone. If you're going to use a landline, or if you're using your cell phone, you can turn off notifications, right? So that's not distracting you. It's breaks, right? And I know a lot of us are using our cell phones. So obviously, that's a little bit different than using the actual office line. So schedule breaks, right? Your body and mind need time to wind down. There's actually a book called High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. And he talks about the fact that as adults, we can't go more than 45 minutes without a break. We have a saturation point, right? So someone says, well, I'm going to sit down and do 3 hours of prospecting. You've already set yourself up for failure because you physically can't do it. So schedule 45 minutes. And then it's also been scientifically proven that if you get up and take a 10-minute break, 15-minute break, walk around, get a drink of water, watch a funny cat video, that will actually reboost your energy and improve your mindset, right? So this says 20 to 30-minute intervals. I think you can go as long as 45. Someone who's a high I personality, I'm definitely going to advocate that 20 to 30s because it's just unrealistic for you to sit for 30 minutes that long and make prospecting calls. Okay, so make sure you schedule the breaks. Now, the break is not to derail you where we go on break and we don't come back to prospecting. It is a quick break to re-energize yourself and then get back to it. Posture and position. I have a standing desk. I don't use it all the time, but when I do use my standing desk, my energy is a little bit different. When I negotiate contracts, I pace. And so I just like to walk back and forth. There's something about that for me that just changes my energy. So make sure whatever that looks like for you, that you're high vibe, that people feel the love coming through your voice on the phone, right? So just make sure whatever's going to work for you. Practice your scripts beforehand. Visualize the outcome. Right? What's the outcome? I know my goal. What's the outcome? The outcome is that you're going to book an appointment, right? That someone's going to want to say, hey, yes, come over and help me either talk about buying or selling a home. Okay. Makes sense? Everybody good with this? All right. So just jot down a couple, 2 to 3 things that you feel like you need to change or you'd like to improve to make your office better, your space better. I can tell you mine. I'm going to pick this stuff up. Well, most of it's dog beds that I have on my floor in here. So
I know mine, but I just haven't found a solution for it yet. And that is my office at home, the home office, because I don't have this problem at 67th Avenue at AHN. But in the house, my office is the furthest one from everything. So I know no human being's ever going to come down here and see it. So it ends up being the dumping spot. So if there's a bunch of mail or newspapers or whatever sitting on the breakfast bar, and I know somebody's coming over, those will naturally get scooped, and I call it scooping, scooped and dropped into my office, just because, well, we don't want to just throw it away and we haven't had a chance to look at it. We don't want it sitting out. This office ends up being the one where it comes, and then next thing I know, there's 6 stacks of just junk I have to go through. It's very frustrating, and I've not come up with a solution for it, but
so I don't know if you
that's what
can
has to take place. That's what has to happen, because this is the place, the home office is where I tend to make phone calls, not at the business office.
So I got this bookshelf behind me, and I don't know if you could see that tote right there, but that's my mail got to go through tote. So everything that comes in, I don't want to have sitting on the kitchen counter, goes in that. And then my plan is that every time I sit down to go through bills and do all that stuff, that's going to get cleared out. And then I have my filing thing where I put all my stuff in that. So my plan is that at least I pay bills 2-3 times a month. So then if I know when I'm paying bills, I've got to go through that tote, and then I'll either discard it, file it, or it'll stay in the tote if it's something I need to follow up on. So I don't know if that's a solution, but maybe have one central place that you're putting everything in, and then just know that you're going to commit to it. Whenever you pay bills, you're going to go through it, because probably the most of it is that type of stuff, right? It's bills and fun stuff like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know if it's a solution, but might be something to try. So anybody else got
anything?
any other comments on that before we move on?
A clean workspace, and then having a whiteboard with goals written on it, so it's visual, like a visual board.
Yep.
Absolutely. Can I just say something about the whiteboard?
Sure.
No.
It is the best thing I ever did in my office. Hands down. Best thing I ever did. If you ever see me turn and do this, it's because I'm looking at my whiteboard.
Right.
And I can't, it's how I start my day. every day is I walk in the home office, I read everything on the whiteboard, and then I go about my day. Because I can have a habit, forget digital CRMs. I can have moments where I'm just like, Sarah, who? Sarah's on my board. Oh my gosh, I need to call Sarah, because I just have these moments. But my board makes sure I know who I'm working with, who I need to work with, what they need, what their goals are, what their budget is, what their price is. And then I put my goals, which are really my commissions, right, over at the edge. So if you ever ask me where I'm at on my income, where I'm at with my pendings, where I'm at with, away from my goal, I can tell you. And if anybody ever asks me, well, how are you going to get to that goal? You don't have that many more days to get to your next goal. I just look at my board and I go, I got to go call that person right there.
Roberta, I didn't even realize the value of that whiteboard that is on this wall by the thermostat. And we have one goal on there, and Tyrese wrote it on there yesterday. It says BAM. And I'm going to add on there like a little section for DSH points. And I'm going to put on there every day how many DSH points I want to get every day. And then I'm going to write underneath there, Monday, how many did I have? Tuesday, so I can see every week how I didn't hit that or how I exceeded it.
Right.
So, so I'm going to have, I know Tyrese isn't going to be in the office every day, but maybe you can do your own version at home, and I could transfer over here, and we could just hold each other accountable.
Yeah, that's important as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
That makes me feel very uncomfortable, is putting my numbers on that and having to look at it.
Well, make sure you're putting it in the app too, because that way.
Oh yeah.
Because you're competing in that. So
Yeah.
Water. So she signed up for the 120-day listing challenge that Workman's hosting. So I think, what did it start yesterday?
Yeah.
Did I miss that?
Well,
No, it started yesterday.
What? I mean, I missed signing up for it.
Well, you can sign up. It just started yesterday. So there is, you want me to send you the thing, Roberta?
Sure.
Make a note to do that. I just spilled water on my paper, darn it.
It was in the Friday email. Nate talked about it and provided a link to. There's an app.
I'll go back and look at. Yeah, I'll go back and look for it.
I have the webinar, and if you get to the end of the webinar, because I send it out to all my Workman coaching clients too, so I'll send it to you. All right, awesome. Okay, so continuing on. So prospecting call rituals. So warm up. Create a positive energy, stand up, move your body, practice smiling, recite your affirmations, tell yourself why you'll be successful, review your personal goals or your personal value proposition. So why should they choose you? Rehearse your scripts out loud for at least 10 minutes, and then visualize a successful conversation and the outcome for 5 minutes. I also like to listen to something like music wise that gets me jacked up, right? Something that makes me feel really inspired. And that really sets the tone for me personally and helps me to get in the right mindset. Okay. So I know it sounds silly, but before the call, these are things that are all essential, right? To help you overcome the fears, right? And get your mindset in the right spot. So during the call, so if you can stand when you can stand, have a cordless headset or wireless earbuds. Again, energetically, a little bit different there for some reason. Remain confident, relaxed, and genuine. So don't sound desperate, stiff, or phony. And also don't get into that sing-songy cheerleader space either. We've all had that person, hi, how are you? What's going on? Right? And if you're a high D, you want to just get right to the point, right? So if you're a high D, you also want to be mindful that we got to have a little bit of, softness to that and a little bit of the Ford script, right?
I love when when you get a call and they're like, hey, how are you doing? I'm like, good. They're like, thanks for asking. I'm great too. Like, so they just have their script and they're not even listening to you. To what they, so it's pretty funny. You could, exactly that they're reading off of something.
Yep.
They do it every single day, 100 times a day.
Yep. But I've also been on, go ahead, Roberta.
I wanted to say something instructive to that. And it's been a pet peeve of mine for years, but it's just so common now, it's insane. At any store, doesn't matter what store it is, Sprouts, Fry's, Macy's, doesn't matter. Did you find everything you were looking for when you're checking out? I always say no, because I haven't. If I would have bucketfuls if I had found everything I was looking for, but usually no. So I always say, no, I didn't.
And what's their response?
They either say nothing, they turn away, or they go, oh, and then they keep checking me out. Your total is, blah, blah, blah. And I just look at them like, I understand why you would not ask me what I needed, or, whatever happened to the rain checklist at the grocery store, or I don't know. It's instructive though. When somebody says, how are you doing? Or you ask, how are you doing? Listen to what they say. I think it's really important to respond to what they actually say.
Depending on the person, I may not ask, how are you doing? I might say, how's your day? Because sometimes I don't want to have their emotional vomit on me.
Absolutely. I have those people too. Yeah.
In a 20-minute response.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I think you make a good point, Roberto. Stop and listen to what they're, because so many times we're listening to formulate a response and not genuinely listening because we're uncomfortable. We're uncomfortable with the pause.
Right.
And it's okay to have a pause. It's totally okay with that. There's sometimes in coaching, I will just be like, right. And I have to practice the pause and formulate my thinking because there's something that's just come at me that I'm like, I don't know how to handle this right now. Right. And so it's okay to do that. And we're so quick to listen. And just like you said, did you find everything you need today? That is an instructive thing that they're saying, but they're not really listening to you.
Yeah. And on the pause, I'll add something and then I'll shush because you have more important things to share. We were taught, I've had numerous negotiating classes that were outside of real estate. But the pause is a really important part of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Super important. And to let someone pause and not interrupt their ability to speak, let them formulate whatever they're going to say, is really respectful. And it gets you a bucket load of information because whatever they finally say, okay, here's what I want to share, is really important to them and something that you can use productively, not necessarily in selling a house, but productively in communicating with that person. They don't have to be run over with a Mack truck. Let them pause, let them collect their thoughts and let them talk. And that's so important in all communications, not just negotiating. And they'll spit out. Agents don't realize this is why I don't always talk. Agents will spit out some of the dumbest things if you're talking to agents. You'll be like, whoa, that's interesting.
Well,
but for your clients, I think it's really important.
I think it's also important for you as the practitioner to practice the pause.
Exactly.
We're so quick to just, again, we're not necessarily listening to genuinely listen. We're listening to formulate our response. So we miss the details of that.
Right.
Very good. I love that.
So don't pause now.
So don't give up too soon, right? Allow yourself to build a rhythm, experience the caller's high, right? They say there's a runner's high. I've never experienced that because I hate running, but they say there is a runner's high and hit the stride, right? So make sure you don't give up. Stay hydrated, right? Your brain is 80% water, and believe it or not, prospecting does take energy. It does take it out of you. Sitting through a class like this takes it out of you, right? So make sure you're drinking and you stay hydrated. I recently started taking electrolytes, and I always kind of fancied myself to think that I was a hydrated person. And then my new doctor I've been seeing put me on electrolytes, and it's just this little powder I put in my water. I put just enough, I barely taste it. And it has made a night and day difference with feeling hydrated. And again, I was always getting my at least 64 ounces in every day, very militant about that. And so it's kind of interesting, just how much we sweat in Arizona, that's not enough, right? So I'm not saying go get Gatorade, because that's not the answer. That stuff's actually really bad for you. But maybe look into some really healthy electrolytes. So anyway, drink plenty of water, stay hydrated. After the call, so this is also critical. We want to review, right? What was the call? Rate on a scale of 1 to 10. We want to recognize, what did I learn? What could I do next time to make it a 10 or a 10 plus? Rehearse out loud. So practice a more effective response, and then release the outcome. Whether it was good or bad, release it. You need to play the Frozen song, Let It Go, then maybe you have that queued up on your YouTube channel and you play Let It Go, right? I personally think you should end your prospecting on a high note, even if that's just leaving a voicemail for someone. If you leave prospecting on a call that realtors suck, I wish you would all die. Next time that it comes up on your calendar, you're not going to feel really inspired to do it. So I would definitely say power through and make one more call, right? So that you end on a high note. And then regenerate your attitude. So we want to move on to the next call with more confidence, ready to eat rejection for breakfast. All right, so tracking your numbers. So what you don't track does not get better. So here's what we want to track. So in your materials, you should have some tracking forms. So prospecting the matrix. So how many dials did you make? How many appointments did you set for listings, and then the calls per listing, your total talks, your total set rate, and your total set. So tracking. So each of these metrics over time will help you understand the effectiveness of your phone prospecting efforts. Track after each call and know whether you are improving. Post prospecting matrix, that's hard to say. Post prospecting, how many people showed up? How many meetings did you have? What was your conversion rate? So conversion is going to be your outbound calls versus your actual appointments. And then your appointments, and then you track your appointments and also track how many people actually agreed to work with you. And then your total closed, your average GCI, and then your total income. All super important. I love it when I talk to someone that's halfway through the year and I say, how many houses have you sold? How much money have you made? How much do you need to make? Right? That's not an effective way to be a real estate agent or a self-employed person, right? So we'll be diving into business planning next month because it's getting to be that time of year where we need to start looking at what have we done so far this year and what are we going to do next year. Okay. It's not too soon to do a review. We're almost at the end of the quarter. So what can you do to look at what you've done for the first 3 quarters, and then what can you do to really kick it up? That's part of why Workman is launching the 120 day, is to push through the end of the year and then set everyone up for a really strong January. Financial effective consequences of a marketer. So this is thinking that we would have 20 listings. I know all of us would love to have 20 listings right now, but let's say that you got 10 calls per listing. That'd be an opportunity to talk to 200 people. If you could set 15% of that, meaning that out of 200 calls, I could get 15% of people to actually meet with me, that'd be 30 appointments. And if only half of those showed up, that'd be a total of 15 appointments. And if we can only convert 45% of those, which I think most of us are probably a little better than that on conversion, that would give you an additional 7 closings. I just heard that the median sales price for Arizona for Phoenix has jumped to 400,000. So do the math on that, how many apples that is. That's a pretty decent year. And this is not taking into effect, this is just property calls. So this isn't a lead that comes through an open house or a megaphone lead or the neighbor that, statistically, we heard this at that Coach's Corner, that when a house goes on the market in the next 30 days, another home on that same street will be listed. And in the next 60 to 90 days, 2 to 3 more homes will be listed. So think about that, you guys. When you put a sign up in the yard, it's not just about selling that house. It's what am I doing to attract others, the 1 to 3 people who might be thinking about selling their house. So this is just calls off of the sign, right? This is not taking into equation all the other ripple down effects that happen. And I hope you write that down. 1 to 3 new listings for every new sign that goes up. In my mind, I don't know if I've never heard that statistic before or if that's just a new statistic that's being shared, but that's a freaking mind-blowing statistic. It's a game changer when it comes to listing houses. Changes my entire attitude about that, because now I don't necessarily want to go after the buyer leads that are coming in on that listing. I want Tyrese to get those buyer leads, but I want to go out and be a machine and get those 1 to 3 additional listings on that street. All right? Because what's the first thing that happens when you see a house go up on the market in your neighborhood? We Google it. We Google it, right? And then we're going to go to that agent's stuff, and then we're going to see what the agent's doing. And then you come along and you door knock. Hey, we're doing an open house. Hey, it went under contract. Hey, it's sold, right? If I'm somebody thinking about moving and I see all of that about you, do I have a higher chance of at least having a conversation with you? I would say yes, right? All right, so performance standards. So your transactional benchmark. So LC, lead conversion, LG, lead generation. We should never wonder when we get out of bed today who needs our services. So we're going to start at the bottom. We have our attempts, right? This is your attempt. I'm wearing my name tag. right? I wore my hat a couple weeks ago at the furniture store, had a conversation with someone. She's now my friend on Facebook, right? That conversation would not have happened if I was not wearing my Remax hat. All right. So that's an attempt, right? You have a conversation with the waitress at your restaurant. So then we have our talks, right? These are meaningful conversations about real estate. Then our sets, that's obviously setting the appointment. We have our meeting, we have our car ride, we have the offers written, offers accepted, and then buyers closed. In this market, if you're very strong at getting your offers accepted, that's something you should be bragging about. Right? Because there are people out there having to write 8, 10, 12 contracts. When I was talking to Ellen Baker, she said she wrote 50 offers for a day. 50 offers. That's exhausting for them and for you. I gotta let my little dog out. Hold on a second. So I think, if you're somebody who's good and strong at that, so good and strong at negotiating, then make sure you're bragging about that. Now let's go back to the other screen here. We got the transactional benchmark for sellers. Same thing, an attempt, your talks, your set, your meeting, your listings taken, and your listings sold. And I think another bragging right that's not on here, couple actually, list price to sales price. Now I know the market's hot, but that's okay, right? Seller doesn't necessarily know that. Somebody that's 1 to 3 people on that street, yes, they've heard on the news, but they don't know statistically, right? So if your house sells for 120% above asking, that's a statistic we want to be bragging about, right? And the same thing if you're able to negotiate below offer, below asking for a buyer, bragging right. I think if you're negotiating any kind of home warranties, closing costs, those are all things that you want to build into tracking. So you could say on average, I save my clients X dollars. Okay. So again, you've got inside your materials, there are forms in here to help you track this stuff. So conversion rates. So we want to talk about, again, tracking this stuff. So how many dials per talk? On average, I heard a statistic that it's 5 outbound calls you'll make connection with people, and that's because we have cell phones, and most people have your number saved in their phone, right? And so, if it's your sphere of influence, they're going to recognize, hey, it's Danielle. I'm going to talk to Danielle over someone who's, a potential spammer. Okay. So I share that. So if it takes 5 outbound to connect and you have a goal to have 5 meaningful conversations, do the math. That's 25 calls per day, approximately. Could you bang out 25 calls in an hour? Yeah, you probably could, right? Especially if the majority of them are leaving voicemails. And then you follow up. So in my mind, here's how I look at that. I make the call, I have the conversation, I follow up with a text, I follow up with a note card. So now if you're doing DSH, I've just made 4 points from that one contact, right? Phone call, text, note card. If I've had a conversation with them and let's say that they are becoming empty nesters, I might run to, I would probably go on Amazon these days, not going to run to the bookstore because are there even any bookstores open anymore? But I'm going to jump on Amazon and I might find a book on how to become an empty nester. And then on Amazon, I can actually have that shipped right to them if I want to, or I could take a step further, get it delivered. Now I've got a reason to go do a pop by. That's squeezing the orange, right? And then, we get extra points for that, right? So going back to the materials. So appointment set, your meetings per listing, your sales percentage, we talked about that a little bit, and then buyer calls per listing taken. Those calls that come in on Megaphone, all your inquiries, those are all leads, right? But usually what happens is we get the lead, we're so busy that the lead comes in, oh, it's already under contract, we move on. That's a lead. Workman says that statistically you should be getting 6 to 8 leads for every listing that you have. And I know the market's hot, but there's still leads coming in after the fact. Like they still come in, right? Your Megaphone ad runs for 7 days. That's why Nate's very, very intentional about they do the Monday, block out showings until Saturday, do the open house, Saturday, Sunday, look at offers on Monday. He's not necessarily doing that. There's a couple of reasons, but a lot of it is to take advantage of the 7 days of AdWorks and the 7 days of Megaphone. So he's lead genning, and it gives him an opportunity to canvas the neighborhood so that those other sellers on the street know what his team is doing in order to get that house sold. And it's also convenient that they're not necessarily working on the weekend. He's not working on the weekend. They're looking at offers on Monday. Right. But then it gives his buyers agents a chance to do the open houses as well. So those are all leads that are coming in. So then we look at the buyer department. So we want to look at, again, dials per talk. How many talks do I have to have before I set an appointment? How many sets per meeting? How many meetings per car ride? How many car rides do I have to do, Tyrese, before we write an offer? Nate's nephew was so good back in the day. He would tell people that I'm going to show you 5 to 6 houses that meet your criteria, and you're going to make an offer on one of them. And I will tell you 9 times out of 10, that's exactly what freaking happened. It was unbelievable, right? A little bit different market today, but can it still be done? I sold a house last summer. We did exactly that. I teed them up. So we're going to go look at everything that's on the market that meets your criteria. And Saturday we'll be making an offer on something. And we did, right? We did. We did not end up, I think there was another offer coming, but we ended up beating that offer out. So it was fine. But you got to set people up for that type of success. And even in a hot market, we could still do that. We could still say, Danielle, I'm going to take you out on Saturday. We're going to look at everything that's on the market. I took them back to the top 2. They cried, we hugged. This is the one, right? We wrote the offer, and now they're living, it's been a year. They're happy, right? So I want to track that stuff. And then how many written offers per offers accepted, and then how many close? How many do you get across the finish line? And I think that is a huge bragging thing right now, and not because of buyers or sellers, but bragging that you can give to the listing agent. I don't just write offers, my crap closes. Right. And so I've had 2 deals where one, we were back up, and both of them, I had relationships with the seller or with the agent. It's like the first one, it fell out. And I said to her, I was like, if you would have just taken our offer, we would have already been across the finish line, And she was like, you're right. I wanted to take your offer, but they were hung up on the fact that we were FHA and not conventional. And so who was the offer that got across the finish line? Mine. Right. And so make sure that if you're, that is a bragging point right now. That's super critical, because 1 in 5 offers are falling apart. And then in some cases, you guys are having to sell houses 2, 3, 4 times before they close. That's exhausting. And then you're getting beaten up on commission as well. Right. So I think that that's important for you to be conveying that information to the listing agent. All right. So again, in your materials, monthly listing accountability standards. So here's all your tracking. So Monday through Sunday, how many past clients did you call? Center of influence, so sphere of influence. This could be your top 50 that you could call that, or if you wanted to add another column just for top 50, because there are some people that are in our sphere but are not considered the top 50. How many just sold or just listed? How many expireds and FSBOs did you do for the week? So pretty basic, you guys, right? Nothing super complicated about this tracking, and you could just do a tick mark if you want to, right? To track how many people you're actually talking to. So same thing with buyers. So past client, SOI, same tracking, just we're looking at buyers versus sellers. So accountability. So you guys, I know Roberta's in an accountability, and Danielle, do you have accountability? Are you still working with your RAMP accountability partners from last summer? No? Okay. All right. So then you and Tyrese can kind of keep each other accountable. And obviously you're coaching with me, so you've got some accountability there as well. And then the 120 day, I mean, you're participating with people from around the United States. So definitely. And I love that they're doing the solo agents versus teams. So this time around, the first time they did it, everyone was kind of lumped together. And it was sort of unfair, because you've got some people with teams and stuff like that. And now they've gotten smart. I think this is the 3rd or 4th time they're running it. So they've gotten smart in how to break it out so that it makes sense for you as a solo agent versus, someone with the mega team. All right, so accountability is key. So Peter Drucker, what gets measured gets done. So definition, I'm not going to read this to you guys. I think you're all pretty clear on what the tracking is. And again, this is for signs, home advertisement, and website, the leads that come in. So you got to be intentional, right? Megaphone lead comes in on the fly. We're not necessarily thinking about putting that on our tracker, right? So we definitely have to spend some time and be intentional on tracking that stuff when you have leads come in. That is why I do like the Beast, because the Beast is a spot where you can keep track of all of that stuff, right? In one spot, everything coming in. All right, so again, accountability is key. So wrap. Is there another section? Oh my goodness, I better talk fast here. We may not make it through all the class. So goal setting, so having your environment, prospecting rituals, tracking your numbers, knowing what your performance standards are. What are your bragging rights, right? What is it what separates me from the competition that would make someone want to work with me? And then again, accountability means you love, you care, right? So we want to make sure we track that stuff. All right, so we're going to get through this here. Step 5 steps to success. So scheduling, we're going to talk about that. Handling objections, check your attitude, becoming your best, and then looking forward. So scheduling, if it's not on your calendar, it's not happening. We are very much calendar oriented people, are we not? I mean, seriously, if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't happen. So make sure that you schedule it, put it on your calendar when you are going to prospect. Now, my caveat to that is, for Roberta, you're a DC personality. It might feel very restrictive to say, I'm going to prospect every day at this time. Danielle, you've got a lot of the S, so it might feel really comforting for you to say, I'm going to prospect at this time. And so you want to be mindful of that yes, we can have the bones of our calendar, but then, on Sundays, I'd say, look at your calendar for the week and be realistic. Because you don't necessarily know when a home inspection is going to get scheduled for a contract you're going to do. And it might be in contract when your prospecting is going to happen. And what happens is we just blow it off. Well, I got a home inspection I got to go to. How about you look at that and say, yes, I have a home inspection I'm going to go to. So I'm going to move my prospecting to this time on a different day, right? Or a different time in the day, right? Instead of just blowing it off. So it's got to be in your calendar. You got to think of it as important as it is that important as meeting with a client, and have the dedicated time set aside. Clear your schedule so you can focus on it. If you're not using your cell phone, turn the notifications off so that that's not a distraction. Because I know when that buzzer goes off or our notifications, we immediately, it's like crack, right? We want to look at it and see what is it? Is it Facebook? Did someone like my post? Commitment is key. We want to evaluate your efforts at the end of each day or at the end of each prospecting session, and then set objectives for the next day. So know what we want to do. So when? So I love this right here, actual call time. So we're going to do our prospecting time from 9 to probably 11. So it falls right in that window. So 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. or between 5 and 6. So people, this is a commute time, right? For people, 5 to 6 p.m. Now, caveat to that is, this is what they say is a good time based on, research, but you guys, anytime is a good time. If you've got 5 minutes in between appointments and you can pick up the phone and call someone you haven't talked to in a while, do it, right? If you've got hands-free in your car and you're driving somewhere and you've got an hour commute, make some phone calls. You can be safe and make phone calls if you're using your hands-free, okay? So preparation is important. So the first key is to put your prospect first. If you call, have something important to say, even if that's just bored, right? And asking, how are you doing? How are you liking your house? What's going on? Be sure to deliver the right message with clarity and sincerity. Be mindful of the prospect before choosing a time to call. So 5 to 6, if it's a stay-at-home mom, she might be making dinner. She doesn't want to get a phone call from you at that time. But calling her at 10 when the kids are napping might be perfect. Right. And so really be mindful about where that person is in their space. If they're commuting and that, might be a perfect time to call them between 5 and 6. So you want to be mindful of that too, is when are they the busiest and what's the best time to be able to reach them. So most realtors want to dialogue that cures the problems that they have created. All right. We get in our own ways. We say stupid crap, right? Or we don't say we say things that are not the right thing, right? So we want to allow the seller to discover that you're different, right? That you are a leader, right? That you're not going to come in and just tell them that this is what they should price their house at. We want to move beyond opinion. So be tangible, have facts that verify that. We want to be logical because selling a home is emotional. So when they get emotional, we want to be the voice of reason and logic. We want to track, hit that a lot today, is tracking your stuff. And then be intentional. How can I improve? Right? When I review my results for the day, what can I do next time to be better? And then we want to be proactive. The word proactive actually means to produce action, right? That's a Latin word. So how do I be proactive every single day? And even if it's baby steps, you guys, working up to it with DSH, Danielle, make it a goal to do 20 points. I just gave you a formula for that. Phone call, text, handwritten note. Do that 5 times, you get 20 points. Right. And if you wrote 5 notes every day, I promise you would see a huge difference in your business. Right. And so handwritten note has so much power to it.
Yesterday, I brought these to the office. My card right out.
Perfect.
I never stamps. I didn't do them, but they're on my desk looking at me.
There you go.
You know what's funny is I'll write a note, and it doesn't happen a lot. 1, that I write a note, but 2, what I'm going to tell you, I have friends and clients who will take a selfie picture with their little note of them and the note and post it on social media. It's the funniest thing.
Remember that?
I do that. I sent her a Mother's Day card and she took a picture of the card and she said, my realtor is better than yours.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, I love that.
That's the kind of thing they do. It's a hoot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay, so your dispositions. We want to be confident, open to suggestions, be aware, be proactive, be unique, be likable, right? We've all had those conversations with people on the phone where they're just, oh, it's painful, right? Be organized, be honest, be approachable, be structured, be intentional, be focused, and be passionate, right? Be passionate. I think there should be another one on here is to be compassionate, right? Be empathetic with people and where they are in their space. Right now, it's a shit show. If you're a parent right now, I don't care which side of the fence, mask or no mask, it's a shit show, right? And so being compassionate with people in that and understanding. So know this above all else, that sellers are attracted to professionals that they believe can get them the results, right? I need to sell my house. There's a lot of gimmicks out there right now, promising them the moon and the stars and convenience. And we know that those conveniences come with a cost, right? And that's their hard-earned equity. You must demonstrate that you possess the knowledge, skill, and disposition to get the job done. Okay. All right. So in your materials, there's scripts. So you've got a couple different scripts. So how'd you find my number? I already have an appointment with another agent. This is on for sale by owners or expireds. So I'm not going to go through all those. You guys have got the scripts in there. We have an objections class that should be coming up, I think, or maybe we already had it. I can't remember. But there is an objections class, a scripts and objections class that we teach in Momentum. So you guys can read through those scripts that are in your materials. So I would challenge you to take one of the scripts and role play it with your team. Pick one and work on it, right? You know, Danielle, next time you meet with Tyrese, spend some time, pick one of those scripts, you know, and dive into it, right? So that next time he encounters that situation, he's got something in his tool belt. Shoot, we're running out of time here. So I love this about Momentum is the core entrepreneur beliefs. So, and I know some of you have seen this already if you've taken a Momentum class, but we have the core entrepreneur beliefs, we have the real estate sales beliefs, and then we have buyer beliefs. And so I would encourage all of you to take time to read through those and maybe even print them out and have them somewhere. I love the idea of having these where I'm going to be making my calls and prospecting so that I can review them before I even get on the call. These are affirmations or core beliefs that we must possess in order to be successful in working with buyers and sellers and being an entrepreneur. And so going back to that, my favorite here is that I live in a world of abundance. That's one of my personal mantras that I say every day, right? And so have these available so that before, you know, I talked about, you know, setting yourself up with your ritual of reviewing your core beliefs, reviewing, you know, the scripts and dialogues. Why not review these too, right? Have those there so that we can set our mind in the right spot. So you guys have those in your materials. Study, practice, action, and reinforce. So SPAR. So we want to study the material. We want to practice. We want to take action. Set it up in your time, right? Know when you're going to prospect. As a new agent, Tyrese, you should be prospecting 1 to 3 hours a day. As seasoned agents, you guys should be prospecting 3 hours a week is kind of the formula, or an hour a day. If you want to do that, you could do that as well. So I know, Tyrese, that might seem like a lot, but here's the thing. You sit in open house on a Saturday, that's 3 hours of prospecting. Right. I mean, it's passive prospecting, but it is prospecting. And if you door knock and you know, drop off something to invite people, that's a form of prospecting as well. Okay. And then reinforce, right? Come back, study it again, practice more, you know, take it a step further, learn from it, make improvements. I cannot for the life of me find this Remax quick hit video. I have searched and searched, so I need to find it. And when I do, I will let you guys know. But Remax quick hits is a new thing that's coming out. And these are going to be 3 to 7 minute videos on the training center on Remax University that take concepts in Momentum and put them into quick little sound bites. So that if you're, you know, you got a few minutes between appointments, or you're stuck at a traffic light, or you're at an open house and you got a downtime, that you can go and kind of digest at a quick few minutes of really good content. So as soon as I find this, I'll let you guys know. So looking forward, I even looked again this morning. So I'm like, where are quick hits? There are quick hits in there, just not that one. So expired. So the key is speed. So this says to be the first one to contact the expired sellers. I don't know. I have mixed thoughts about that because a lot of times they're just really, Tyrese, it would not be something as a new agent I would advocate you to do because you will run from the industry and be like, this sucks. I don't want to talk to these angry people. Roberta and Danielle, could you handle it a little differently? Yeah, maybe. But that's, again, why I think I have more people in coaching that have better success in going back in time than calling people that are just newly expired. So that's just my personal experience. For sell by owners, so we know that commission is the hurdle, right? So in the class that we teach in Momentum is it's a process, right? It's visiting them. It's trying to help them sell their house, not trying to take the listing. So I know we have that on recording somewhere on our YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out. To me, that's a really unique way of dealing with the for sale by owners. If you want the materials, let me know. I'm happy to send them to you. Monetizing your sources. So talking about, where are your lead sources? What are your funnels? I advocate that 75% of you want to have 4 pillars that are independent of each other. But to me, at least 75% should be coming from your sphere and your database. But then you want to have other ones that are independent that also drive your business. There was an agent in our office, or used to be an agent in our office, who had a Zillow account, she worked bank-owned properties. Well, when the bank-owned market dried up, she went to Zillow. Well, when Zillow got pulled, now she's scrambling because she put all her eggs in one basket. And so that's why we talk about 4 pillars, is so that if one starts to shift or change, which that's why your database is so critical, because that, if you do it right, it shouldn't shift or change over time. It should continue to get better and better. Okay. So make sure that you know where you're spending your time and that you're being effective with that. And then again, growing your database. We talk about in the Beast 3-2-1, 3 people from your database you're going to talk to, 2 new people you're going to add, and 1 new thing you're going to learn. So if you could constantly be thinking about who can I add to my database, it's a game changer, right? And even if it's only 1 person, that's okay, right? It's 1 new person that you're adding into your database. All right, so wrap up. So schedule. I cannot emphasize this. It's probably the most important thing besides I think the time to tell you when to times, the 8 to 12 and the 5 to 6, kind of a valuable tool or a valuable tidbit, but put it on your calendar, you guys. If it's not in your calendar, it's not going to get done. Know what your objections are and how to handle those objections. Get your attitude in the right spot. Believe that you can. And then we want to follow through with action, and then continue to just develop, right? Be focused. Do the, review, revise, release, right? And refocus. And then look forward. We want to just continue to grow our database. Who out there needs your services? So, I know it's pretty geeky, but when I go out to eat, I leave my business card with my tip, right? I've sold houses that way, right? If I go somewhere on a regular basis, I'm going to wear my name tag because my name tag draws attention. It gets people to talk to me. And so constantly just be looking for ways to connect with people that may need your services, right? They may not today, but they do in the future, or they meet you, Tyrese, and they think you're just a cool cat and they want to refer everybody to you that they know. Okay. So you just don't know when that next person's coming up. So at the end, here's a course recap of everything that we talked about. So you guys have that in your materials. So that being said, that's a wrap at 5 minutes till. So any questions, comments, anything you guys want to add?
Those are great materials. While you were talking, I went in and I printed out a few things to post up in here, and because I think I am a paper person, and having the DSH or the tracker right in front of me is going to be a lot more effective than remembering, oh, I got to go on my app and do it, or go to the form that is editable. I'm like, just give me a piece of paper so I can just do like tick marks when I call, so that's, yep. And then I can put it into the app, but I need to have it in front of me. So I appreciate that you have the materials.
Awesome. Very good. What do we got? So tomorrow we have Bouge at 10. And then Thursday, what's Thursday? Oh, the CE class for $10 on new home stuff. And that's all going to Month of Miracles. And of course, Friday night at 6 at the Lola. That's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys can make it to those events. You're not going to, oh, that's right. Roberta's going to be out of town. So bummer. We will miss you.
I love the auction. It's my favorite thing.
Well, you have something
again?
The Lola at Westgate. So did you nominate someone? Is Monica going to come for you and do your bidding?
I don't know. I haven't had time to. I'll call her. That's a good suggestion.
Yeah,
Here's my checkbook, Monica.
She'll follow if you give her a price point, she'll do it. All right, you guys.
2 years ago, we bought like I don't know, $1,000 worth of golf and then couldn't use the passes because of COVID. It got wonky because we weren't going out. It's like, oh well.
Yeah, I think we have that same golf package this time too. So we're at a Blue
Well, Rick
Star.
will be glad that I'm not spending $1,000 on it this year.
All right, you guys, I got to jump off because I got a coaching call right behind you, but thanks for
Oh,
being
Thanks,
here.
Sarah, as
Oh,
always.
you have a question.
Yes.
Teresa, do you have a question? Oh,
No, I
he's
think
on.
he was waving by. All right, see you
Why
guys.
can't I?
Bye.